Hello, my dear students. This is Mr. Mahmoud Al Hassan, King Abdulaziz Model School. I hope you're doing well. Our lesson today is talking about the most famous grammar point, which is if conditional. Before we start, we should revise the formation of some tenses. The first tense is present simple. How can you form the present simple? Most of you know that the present simple is formed by verb 1. And as you know that verb 1, any verb 1 has two forms, with S and without S. What about past simple? We form the past simple by verb 2, whether it's regular or irregular. What about past perfect? Past perfect, we form the past perfect by had plus verb 3 or the past participle of the verb. If conditional. As you know that if conditional has many cases. The first one is zero conditional. How can you form zero conditional? We usually form it by if followed by verb 1, which is present simple, and the main clause is also verb 1, which is present simple. Okay, like this, if verb 1 followed by verb 1. When do we use the zero conditional? The zero conditional describes something that is generally true. For example, if you boil water, it evaporates. Here we have a fact, that's why we use the zero conditional. Now we're going to talk about the first conditional. The first conditional, as you know, any conditional sentence has two clauses. The if clause should be verb 1 also because it's first conditional, and the main clause should have will plus infinitive. Okay? We use the first conditional to talk about what? Talk about a possible situation in the present or future and its consequence. Okay? An example for this. If you study hard, you'll get full mark. If you study hard, you'll get full marks. Okay? What about the second conditional? How can you form the second conditional? You know that the second conditional, we use F followed by verb 2. Verb 2, which is what? Past simple, as you know. And the second clause should have would plus infinitive. Okay? When do we use the second conditional? We use it to describe an improbable or imaginary situation in the present or future and its consequence. So, we use the second conditional to talk about what? Imaginary situation or unreal situation. If I were you, I'd buy a new car. If I were you, I'd buy a new car. I'm imagining, okay? So this is not real. I'm imagining something, whether in the present or the future, I should use what? The second conditional. The third conditional. How can we form the third conditional? The if clause should have had plus verb 3, like this, okay? Which we call past perfect. And the main clause has would have plus verb 3. Okay? What about the usage of the third conditional? We use the third conditional for imaginary situations in the past. For example, if the boat had sunk, they would have died. Here, in this example, did the boat sink? Of course not. Did they die? Of course not. That's why we use the third conditional, because I'm imagining a situation in the past. Mixed conditional. The mixed conditional is a mixture between the second and the third conditional. When if is followed by verb 2 and the main clause has would have plus verb 3, like this, this is a mixed conditional. And we use this kind to talk about what? To talk about imaginary present situation and its past consequence. But when if is followed by had plus verb 3 and the main clause has would plus infinitive, this is also a mixed conditional. And we use this type to talk about imaginary past situation and its present consequence. If conditional, let's recap all the cases of if conditional in just one slide. Zero conditional is formed by what? Verb 1, and the second sentence also should have verb 1. So this is present simple, present simple. And pay attention to, don't forget that verb 1 has two forms, with S or without S. We use the S verb with what? The third person. The first conditional. If followed by verb 1, and the second clause should have will plus infinitive. The second conditional. If followed by verb 2, and the second clause should have would plus infinitive. What about the last conditional, which is what? The third conditional. We form the if followed by had plus verb 3, and the second clause should have would have plus verb 3. Okay? And we have this year we have the mixed conditional, which is between the second and the third conditional. Okay? Grammar in context. Grammar guide. Zero, first, and second conditionals. Look at these sentences. Which type of conditional does each one use? A. If you take more exercise, your heart gets stronger. Which type of conditional? Good. It's what? It's zero conditional because we have verb 1 and verb 1. What about B? If we had more green spaces, it would make a real difference to people's health. Excellent. It's the second conditional. Why we say it's a second conditional? Because we have verb 2 in the if clause and we have would plus infinitive in the second clause or in the main clause. What about C? If you eat a big breakfast this morning, you'll feel full. This is what? First conditional, of course, because we have verb 1 and the second clause has will plus infinitive. Now look at this exercise and read the rules. Which type of conditional does each rule apply to? 1. It describes an improbable or imaginary situation in the present or future and its consequence. Here, because it's imaginary, it's what? In the second conditional. 2. It describes a possible situation in the present or future and its consequence. Anything that is possible, it's what? It's the first conditional. 3. It describes something that is generally true or a fact. We use what? Zero conditional. Good. 4. We use the present simple in the half of the sentence with F and will or won't plus infinitive in the other half in the first conditional. Good. 5. We use the present simple in both halves of the sentence. We use what? The present simple in both halves. So it's what? It's zero conditional. We use the past simple in the half of the sentence with if and would or wouldn't plus infinitive in the other half. This is second conditional. Now complete each sentence to make a general statement using the zero conditional. We knew that zero conditional, it has two clauses. One clause is a present simple and the other also must be in the present simple because we are talking about what? Facts or something that is generally true. Try to pause the video and try to write answers for these questions before you check. 1. If you drink too much coffee, your heart beats really fast. This is what? This is something that is generally true. 2. If you never do any exercise, you are unfit. If you only sleep 3 or 4 hours a night, you get sick. 4. If you eat a lot of junk food, you get fat. If you sit in front of a computer all day, you get bad eyesight. If you sit in the sun all day without skin protection, your skin burns. If you have a temperature, you feel very hot. If you eat food that's high in salt, your pressure rises. Complete the questions with the correct form of the verbs given. Which country you live in if you could choose any country in the world? Here we have if followed by could, and this word is the second form of the verb. So we are talking about the second conditional. That's why we use would plus infinitive of the verb. 2. If you pass all your exams this year, how will you celebrate? I'm talking about a possible thing. If you had the powers of a superhero, what powers would you like to have? Here I have would plus infinitive, so we are in the second conditional, so we should use the second form of the verb have, which is what? Had. If we didn't have cars, how would we travel around? This is also the second conditional. If you were a journalist and could meet any famous person for an interview, who would you meet? Here we are imagining in the present. That's why we use the second conditional. If you could choose a special meal to celebrate an important occasion, what would you eat? So also this is what? The second conditional, because we are imagining. Decide if the sentences are correct. Rewrite the incorrect sentences. 1. If I am the health minister, I would ban junk food. Here we are imagining, that's why we should use the second form of the verb am, which is what? Was or were, and we can use was or were, but were is always true. Number 2, we'll go to the camel racing if the tickets weren't too expensive. Here I'm talking about something possible, and I have will plus infinitive. That's why I should use the first form of the verb weren't, which is what? Aren't. Look at number 3. I wouldn't do that if I were you. Here I'm imagining, and I use the second conditional. That's right. So this sentence is correct. 4. What would you do if it rains all day tomorrow? Here I'm talking about something that may be possible. That's why I should use what? Will, because I have verb 1 and I'm talking about the first conditional. If I had $1 million, I traveled around the world. Here I'm imagining, of course. That's why I should use what? Would plus infinitive, would travel. 6. If you mix blue and yellow, you would get green. Here, it's what? It's a fact. That's why we use the zero conditional. Here we have mix, and the other sentence or the other clause has what? Has get. 7. If you don't drink any liquids for a long period, you die. Okay. Also, it's what? It's correct because I'm talking about something which is generally true. I use the zero conditional if verb 1, which is don't plus drink. Okay. And the other clause is what? Die. 8. What will you do if you lost the match? Okay. What will you do if what? If you lose the match? Because I'm talking about something that's possible and I have will plus infinitive, so the verb that comes after the word if is should be verb 1 also. Thank you so much.